I was diagnosed with MS in 2006. And at that time, I would just have various health issues that would come up, and I would just address that naturally. I was really passionate about it, and I thought that was like the peak. I thought that I had done it all. I had everything, right? I had a successful business, and I had managed my health successfully, seemingly from the outside. But the inside part of me was still dying. I wasn't fully healed. No diet and no doctor is going to change any of that until you start to recognize the ways in which you create this relationship with yourself and how that hinders or progresses your healing path. Then made some really difficult decisions. I closed all my businesses. I got a divorce. I sold all my belongings, and I came to Costa Rica to just be by myself and to really deepen this understanding of how the nervous system was really running the show the whole time. As soon as I really started doing this work on my nervous system and making these connections, then my health just changed, just like dramatically, without me even trying. I didn't even have to be like food diary and what did I eat wrong. There was never anything wrong with me. I just needed to be seen, met, listened to, and attended to.
Welcome to the Pathways to Wellbeing podcast. My name's Sophia from Sacred You, and with me today I have a very special guest who I'm really excited to talk to, Christine Ruch. Welcome, Christine, to our podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And I am truly really excited to be talking to you, especially about your whole journey and how you help women now. But you're a holistic transformational guide who you've spent over 2 decades, healing your own MS through whole food nutrition, which we're going to talk about, your nervous system restoration, and deep spiritual work. Christine, let's get into our conversation and tell us how you got to where you are now. Would you like to share your journey of what's happened to you and your body and your transformation that you've experienced?
Thank you for asking that question. Yeah, I would love to. I guess I was diagnosed with MS in 2006. And at that time, I was just a stay-at-home mom with my 2 young children. And I really had a desire to heal naturally. I really felt like that was possible. And so I started on my own healing path, and that looked a lot like, primarily initially, just a lot of lifestyle interventions, diet. I got my degree in holistic nutrition, and my husband and I moved to Boulder, Colorado with our kids. And yeah, I just started just one thing at a time. I would just have various health issues that would come up, and I would just address that naturally. I had a lot of support with natural health care doctors, natural wellness physicians, and did all kinds of different healing of all different sorts, just about anything. But I wasn't fully healed, I shall say. I was definitely incredibly successful. And I went on to open a restaurant, and I opened actually 3 food businesses in Boulder and I had those for about a decade. And they were very popular and well received, and I'm grateful for that. But it's interesting because while I was so busy trying to heal myself and so busy trying to provide the community with the healthiest food possible for their own health journey, I wasn't getting any better. I was definitely the smallest thing would really give me a big setback. And even though I never felt like I was inclined to started pharmaceutical interventions, there was just always different layers of healing. That I had a very rigid life, I shall say. And I had a very rigid life. I worked really hard, and I worked long hours, as you could imagine, with 3 food businesses. And I was really passionate about it, and I thought that was like the peak. I thought that I had done it all. I had everything, right? I had a successful business, and I had managed my health successfully, seemingly from the outside. But the inside part of me was still dying. I wasn't fully healed. And then I had this really interesting interaction with this healer. And this was like in 2022. And it was really fascinating, maybe 21, I don't remember. And she said something to me really interesting. She was like this witchy woman, bless her. I love those type of body workers. And she was said to me as I was like getting ready to leave, and this is the first time I had seen her. And she said, I have a question for you. And I said, okay. And she said, how do you feel? And I said, I feel good. That was nice. That was a nice massage. Thanks. And she said, no, but like, how does it feel? And I was like, how does what feel? And she said, how does it feel to live your life without your head attached to your body? And I was like, what? I just couldn't even, I didn't even know what that meant. I got home and I like Googled it. I was like, what does that mean to live without my head attached to my body? And that was like the beginning of the next chapter of my life that lands me here chatting with you. And that is to really get to figure out what does that actually mean, and how could I not be connected to my body when everything I do is in service of my body to combat my illness. And I thought that I had a strong practice of physical exercise, and I had natural body care products and natural health care products and all the right doctors and the tinctures and the pills and diet, and the lifestyle was super tight. I was like, I do all this for my body. And so how is it possible that I'm not connected to my body? And then that kind of just opened this whole door to a whole nother layer of healing. And that is really doing a lot of the somatic work and doing a lot of the deep inner work to find my body and to connect with it and to create a relationship with it and to change my dialogue with how I viewed myself and how I viewed my well-being. I was always like had this like mental running track of what's wrong with me now, or why is my body failing me, or what did I do wrong? What did I eat wrong? Or what's new? Like I was very hyper vigilant. And having a restaurant surely keeps you in your shadows. There's lots of opportunity to live from your shadows when you run a restaurant, because it's very much all about the hustle culture and hypervigilance and hyperachieving and having a million masks to wear and all of that. And so as I just got layer and layer deeper and deeper, and then I discovered a bunch of somatic work, and really that led to a lot of traumatic release and a lot of really understanding how my lifetime of trauma, my childhood of very bad trauma, that I felt like I'd always had therapists and I dealt with all that. And I had healthy relationships. I thought I had a good marriage. I had a successful business. Like, what was wrong there? And recognizing through this whole journey that there was a whole lot that I never processed from my childhood. And there was a whole lot of ways that the trauma that I was raised within and then helped me keep myself traumatized.
Yes.
And I chose relationships to keep myself traumatized. I chose a career and a lifestyle that continued to keep me traumatized. Meanwhile, I'm like downing the kale smoothies and like having the lock on my lifestyle, like a drill sergeant, and completely convinced that that was enough, right? That the kale smoothie could balance out all the other things in my lifestyle that was completely not okay. And so it was a lot of reckoning and a lot of dark night of the soul and a lot of journeying in all kinds of inner places through the help of psychedelics, but also through my own deep inner desire to truly connect more deeply with my own truth
Mhm.
and my own authenticity,
Mhm.
and then made some really difficult decisions. I closed all my businesses. I got a divorce. I sold all my belongings. I put everything in storage, and I came to Costa Rica to just be by myself and to really deepen this understanding of how the nervous system was really running the show the whole time.
Yes.
And that as soon as I really started doing this work on my nervous system and making these connections, then my health just changed, just like dramatically, without me even trying. I didn't even have to be like food diary and what did I eat wrong and all these things. And what's the quality of the water and what's my sleep hygiene and like all these other ways in which I would be like really attached to those things to keep my health in check. And recognizing that actually it's much more soft, it's much softer, it's much gentler. Like our body heals in its own beautiful way that should be honored and supported, and not this like very masculine, top down, pharmaceutical, Western driven, like stress, goal oriented, that actually our nervous system is really responds to a totally different type of environment, shall we say. Yeah. And then that led me to a lot of understandings and realizations that like I've always been a guide, I've always been a teacher, and I've always been someone who loves to help other people, and recognizing that while I wanted to help everybody by making the healthiest food in Boulder, and there was nothing wrong with that, and it was a beautiful chapter of my life, but actually, I really want to help women connect more deeply with their own capacity to heal as well, and with all authenticity, and that it's within their power to do this.
Absolutely.
To live in the fullness of their own self.
And thank you so much for sharing. And can I just really start off right at the beginning now and to just honor you?
Oh, thank
To
you.
really, really honor you first of all, to honor you to taking that time to basically to devote to your own healing, to know that it is possible to heal our bodies in all the illnesses or diseases that we have, especially something like MS, that it is possible to heal when we take that time to go deeper into it. And I totally agree with you about the nervous system does run the show. And we've just got to allow that to heal and allow the body to be its own doctor and heal itself. So I'd just like to honor you for that and honor you for bringing your journey to the world and helping other women with MS, but not just, I think, not just women with MS, but people in the world generally through living a as healthy, balanced lifestyle as possible. And I agree with you. One of the foundations is food, healthy food. And for anyone who is watching or listening to our podcast, I'm going to start off right now. Go and stalk Christine on the links below. I'm checking on her Instagram, and it is amazing. Wherever you are, Christine, I'm going to follow you. So really, thank you. So can we go a little bit into the MS part of this before I want to get into so much more? And you're talking about being disconnected. You were told that you're disconnected from your body.
Yeah.
How does that actually show up in people's lives when people, but especially women, are disconnected from their body? How does that show up?
That's such a good question. I think it shows up a lot it shows up in, I think, in a couple of different ways, like how we treat ourselves. You can really see that I think that a lot of us are disconnected from our body because we're not really taught how to connect with our body when we're young. We're not taught how to process emotions, how to hold emotions. We're not taught to be careful in how we speak to ourselves and to look at ourselves. Like I know women who, like, let's say, don't want to touch themselves. And I just mean simply, let's say, massage their face, or they're like, oh, I would never do that. Or go to get acupuncture or a massage. Oh, I would never do that. They very much like recoil at any sort of like body thing that they have to do for themselves, except if it's like driven by societal standards, like apply face cream or like apply like sunscreen before you go out in the water. But aside from those dictates, they don't have an inborn desire to like fully know themselves from the inside. I think a lot of us are all about working on our health from the outside in and not from the inside out. And we think that we can just like all these outside in approaches and like it should be fluid, but also it should come from within you, this knowing. A lot of times I can identify with women who it's a little bit like the life I used to live was very type A, very performance driven, very performative, and very structured in your head. What does society think I need to do? What is the expectation of me? I don't want to let anybody down. I don't believe in like a knowing or a trusting or an intuition. That's woo. Or like women who don't want to dig in deeper into themselves out of fear of what they may find, or don't know that they have the support to do, because it is a little bit disconcerting to start asking questions and trusting and creating a relationship with the messages that your body is showing you, as opposed to what's wrong with me, this is wrong with me, finding a doctor to fix you, but actually recognizing it all starts with you from the inside. It's an inside job. It's not an outside driven job.
And again, something that I agree with you, that it's just really going in there and connecting with our bodies. As you said, even if it's just a simple massage. So many
Yeah.
women, especially, don't even acknowledge their bodies in such a way.
Except to shame themselves. I don't look good in this. I look fat in that and this and that. And it's like very much putting themselves down in the face of like the standards of conventional beauty. And that's not really knowing your body at all. It's totally different.
No matter what our body looks like, no matter what it does. And
No matter
of
what
times,
everybody looks
a lot of times our bodies are not or do not look like whatever is meant to fit in the box because of what's going on inside. And the
like.
more
Yeah.
we avoid that, the more our body does not fit in that box.
Yeah. And you know what? I love what you just said too, because what I find, I felt this for myself as well, is that I had a lot of inflammation. I thought I was doing everything right, but I was living a life that drove inflammation, even if I had this really tight diet. But everything else in my life led to so much stress and so much pressure on myself to perform and to achieve and to not disappoint. And then a lot of hiding, like masks, like hiding from like, I don't want my children to really know that I'm blind in one eye right now because I have a thing that I got triggered by. Or like, I don't want people to know the depth of how I'm feeling. And no matter what your health condition is, really, and how just that can create this divisiveness within. And you try so hard, let's say, to lose weight, and you're doing all the right things for your diet, and you can't figure out your weight issue, but you're not recognizing that you're bringing your own inflammation in by the way in which you lead your life and the choices that you make, that you are doing this to yourself. No diet and no doctor is going to change any of that until you start to recognize the ways in which you create this relationship with yourself and how that hinders or progresses your healing path.
Thank you for sharing that. With your MS, can we go back to with your actual personal experience with your MS? Do you recognize or do you have any beliefs of when the symptoms were actually started of
Yeah, for sure.
MS and what was going on in your life, in your nervous system to create those symptoms, to bring those symptoms in?
Yeah, thank you for asking. Yeah, so that was in 2006, and my youngest daughter was not quite 3, and my son was like 5. I think he was in kindergarten. And so there was a lot. My symptoms, my first knowing that there was something wrong happened in pregnancy with my daughter. And, and just to back up just a touch, I had a fairly traumatic birth experience with my son. And then I had a miscarriage between my son and then my daughter being born. And then 3 months after I had my miscarriage, then I was pregnant again with my daughter. And during that pregnancy, I kept losing weight instead of gaining weight.
Mhm.
And doctors were really worried about me because I'd only gained 2 pounds or 3 pounds, even though I was eating ravenously and I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I wasn't trying to not lose, I wasn't trying to do that. And so that was the first red flag. The pregnancy looked normal, supposedly, but it didn't feel the same in my body. And then after I delivered my daughter, then within 3 years, then I had my first MS flare. And yeah, I guess there was probably a lot of stress in that time as well. We had bought a home and remodeled it and did a lot of construction in our home and then had a young kid and then there was nursing and just all the young mom things that happen and all the stress of that. And yeah, I think I was also rowing competitively at the time that I was diagnosed. So I would wake up, I'd nurse my daughter at 3:30 in the morning, and then I would get ready to go and row. And I would row competitively for hours. And then, so yeah, I was putting myself under an awful lot of pressure, I think, at that time.
And then the symptoms started to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. My first symptom was do you want me to share that? Uh,
Right,
I'm
yes.
happy. Yeah, I'm happy to. It was like in January of 2006 on a Wednesday. I don't remember the date, but I remember it was a Wednesday. And all the kids were in bed and playing, and we were laying in bed, and our dog was in bed. And my husband got out of bed to go and get breakfast started and all that stuff. And I rolled out of bed and I leaned over to pick up my sweatpants that were on the floor. And I had this electric shock in the base of my skull that went all the way down my back, all the way down my legs. And it actually knocked me on my feet. I almost thought I was going to throw up. You know, that feeling you get in your stomach when you know something is absolutely not right and your mind can't really make sense of it right away. That's not right. Whatever that is that's not a normal sensation. And then that feeling just ended up progressing and my gait deteriorated. I had a lot of fatigue. I could only walk all the way up until when I was diagnosed. I would get up and row still. And then I would come home and I'd take my son to school. And then my daughter would go down for her nap. And then I would sleep. And yeah, I had a lot of strategies with friends to help me and my husband at the time. And I couldn't even feel my legs. And I felt like I was walking through quicksand a lot of the times. Or like I'd look at my legs and I thought for sure they're the size of sequoia trees, right? Because that's how they feel. Kind of like when you're at the dentist and you look in the mirror and you just get some dental work and you're like, surely my face is 3 times bigger but it looks normal. So yeah, there was a lot of that
So,
disconnect.
yes, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure there's a lot of women who can recognize that, whether or not they have MS or not. It's really the disconnect and things. And can we now go into your healing journey? Because
Sure.
you mentioned about somatic practices, like how did you actually get in touch with your body? How did you really come back into relating to your body?
My personal path, was pretty dramatic and somewhat traumatic as well. I don't think that what the story I'm going to share, it's not necessarily something I recommend for everybody, although everybody who does do this will experience some benefit from this. But I did psychedelic journey and I ended up having a full body purge. I ended up like crying and crying and crying like I had never cried that hard in my entire life, like crying for like generations of tears.
Yeah.
And I cried for this was shortly after my restaurants. I closed everything and I closed everything really dramatically, suddenly, in a way you should not. And I yeah, it was a completely, obviously, you never know what medicine is going to give you. But yeah, I yelled, I screamed, I cried, I vomited, and I shook. And the whole time that this was happening to me, like the conscious part of my brain was super far away. And I was like observing myself, oh my God, like where did all of that come from? And it was almost like I could literally feel its absence leaving my body. And I could feel the weight come off of me after I got done, like losing my mind, so to speak, or actually losing my body. But I was so full of awe at how much we actually keep inside of us, and we're completely unaware of. And how we push down our emotions deep inside of our body and we don't allow ourselves to feel them. And I was just completely floored and completely shocked that all of that came out of my mouth and came out of my body, and my shaking and my sweating and my crying, my vomiting and my scream. And all of it was so amazing because I kept feeling better and better through the process, even though I'm sure people were watching me like, what? Do not give me any of that. But I think that's just my path. But it definitely really opened a door for me to explore other ways in which you can move all these old traumas without having necessarily something as dramatic as a psychedelic experience to be the door that opens that. And so then for the next 3 years, it's been a process of walking that path to all of the different ways that we can meet our body and support our body to release what no longer serves it anymore as a modality to the healing path.
Yes, and again, I agree with you. And thank you. And whether or not someone takes or goes down the path of taking a psychedelic or not, we do store and suppress everything in our bodies, which access in all different ways. So thank you. And for you, Christine, do you recommend some daily practices that people can have who may not go down the path of psychedelics? But what are some daily practices that someone can start regulating their nervous system and reconnect with that inner wisdom?
Yeah, for sure. I think probably the first thing is to truly sit with yourself and feel your belief that it is possible for you to heal, separate from society, Western medicine, separate from everything else. Just you sitting with yourself and tuning into your own vitality and what your soul really wants from you, and the path that you're really meant to live. And, but just really connecting with that, because it all is a belief. If you don't believe you can heal, or you want to give your power to doctors or all these external sources, then I would suggest that you don't actually believe that you can heal. You believe that other people are healing you, and not actually that you have the power and the capacity to heal yourself. And so I think it's first and foremost, you have to have that belief system, can cultivate that. And maybe that takes time because there's some deconditioning that has to be done there. Like you've always been told you couldn't heal, or our culture makes it such that we disempower, especially women, disempower them in the healing process. And so maybe it's a daily check in and journaling and starting to believe authentically that this is something you want for yourself at all costs. Because actually, you're already destroying your life at all costs by not trusting your own ability to heal. So I think starting every day with a mindful practice of really starting to listen to your body. And also, as far as an actual something specific aside from that, is I like to suggest people begin to become connected to where their thoughts are coming from. Where do they originate? Do they originate in your head, or do they originate in your heart, in your stomach, in your body? Is this thing coming through your body like, oh, or is it this mental thing like, I should do? And start to just pay attention. You don't have to fix anything. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing to do. It's just gentle allowance for what is, and gentle allowance, because once your body starts to recognize that you're paying attention to it, it will respond to you, and then you start to build this beautiful relationship. But it doesn't start with any pushing, it only starts with allowing. And so sitting in the space of full allowance for everything that you are and everything that brought you to that moment, and believe in your body's innate capacity to heal. No matter what your health looks like, you can still heal. So those are some of the places that I would begin.
Thank you for sharing that.
Mm.
And it's so very true. You know, our bodies are our own doctors, their own doctors. When we look after them and that they're in optimal health as possible, then our bodies will heal naturally.
They do naturally. It's super astonishing, actually.
Yes, unfortunately, we live in a world where it's so easy to take a pill. But yet our Indigenous cultures, and you would have experienced this too, our Indigenous cultures, they never had pills. But yet they were able to heal themselves from illnesses and sicknesses and everything else naturally. Yes. It's our own pharmacy is already within us. So thank you. And for any woman who has MS, or any woman who is listening, who is feeling a bit disheartened or doubtful, what truth would you most want them to hear today?
That you were put here to live this one life. You have one life to live your fullest expression of your truth and of yourself. And it is within your power and your capacity to cultivate that for yourself. And it all begins with learning to trust yourself and believe that it's entirely possible. So I just think that every woman is, I think the women who are, there's just so much difficult, it's so difficult for, there's a lot of healing modalities that are natural that are very helpful. And sometimes it's hard to know where to begin. And alternative care doctors are very expensive. Alternative labs are very expensive. And not that's necessarily a problem, but sometimes it can feel like you're throwing good money after bad. You're not sure if you're seeing results. You're not sure how this modality fits in with that modality. You're not sure what to believe. There's a lot of like mystery in choosing the natural path. And so I think just believing that you are meant to live a life of complete fullness, and that is, it's your one and only life. And it's absolutely within your power to do.
Yeah, I love that, that you're meant to live your life in complete fullness. And it is very true that we have the power. It really depends on who we listen to. Do we listen to ourselves? Do we believe our body in what it's trying to tell us? Or do we listen to the medical profession that likes to push certain types of drugs? Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'd love to know, Christine, now, looking, so you said you started with MS in 2006. So how has your life changed now, almost 20 years later?
Sitting here right now in Costa Rica.
Yeah. Sitting here right now in Costa Rica, how is
It's,
your body compared
yeah,
to what it was 20 years ago?
I am the healthiest now than I've ever been in my entire life. I can eat more food now than I could ever eat before. I always had a really tight diet. And I think that diet is really important for MS, but really it's more important for your nervous system, because you're trying to really calm your nervous system and then also teach your nervous system trust.
Yeah,
And so there are important foundations with regards to food, but also when your body starts to feel safe and your nervous system is regulated, you can eat a whole bunch more food than you ever thought that you could. I can sleep better. I battled insomnia for so bad. Like I can't even tell you how bad my insomnia was for like over 20 years. And I sleep through the night every night. And that is a huge accomplishment. And my body looks different too without me doing anything. I'm not trying to do anything, but I feel like I'm able to properly metabolize the nourishment that I provide for my body, the way your body is supposed to process food. I feel like the way I'm able to eat now, my body can receive the full benefit of the nourishment that I provide it. But yeah, I struggled with my weight forever, even with the healthiest diet and running this health food restaurant. But now I know it was a lot of inflammation, and it was inflammation and it was a lot of trauma, a lot of stress that I never saw. The inflammation was driven by the stress that I didn't allow myself to see. My stress I just kept pushed down inside of myself. And yeah, my life is dramatically different now. Yeah, even though I was always on the path, and I think that there were always positive things, but until I really met my nervous system in this container that I've been living in here and doing this personal work, that's not the psychedelic, not that one, but just like this other way of really creating this co-regulation within and this limbic resonance, and really creating and cultivating a relationship with your nervous system like it's a newborn baby has shifted everything for me
I like
without
that.
trying.
Thank you. And I like that. Cultivating your nervous system like it's a newborn baby. It's so very true. And speaking of your nervous system, if it could speak right now, what would your nervous system say?
Thank you for seeing me.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for trusting me. There was never anything wrong with me. I just needed to be seen, met, listened to, and attended to. And so then that means like changing my life. Not that everybody will move to Costa Rica or make huge shifts in their life like I did. That's just my path. But I think but my nervous system is super grateful that I began to co-create with my nervous system and trust it, and then it began to trust me, and then that trust just built on itself, and then the alignment happened. There's an inner alignment with your truth, your authenticity, your nervous system, your inner knowing, that all comes together synergistically in a really beautiful way to support the healing path.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. And talking about the healing, a couple of more quick questions, Christine. For you, what does the pathway to well-being mean? Like, how do you describe well-being?
For me, it's just freedom. It's liberation. It's being liberated from like all of these constructs and these stories that we tell ourselves about I'm not good enough, or there's something wrong with me, or I'm failing, or I'm stressed, or just like being liberated from that, and freedom, and the freedom that it provides, and being able to live in the fullness of my own truth, and hope that my story motivates or inspires other women to trust me, to show them that they can be just as successful in their healing path as well.
And you certainly are a living proof of it.
Thank you.
You radiate health. You do the embodiment of what you're talking about. So again, I'd like to thank you. And before we wrap up, is there anything else? Is there any other question that I could have asked you? Is there anything else that you would like to share with everyone who is listening?
Thank you so much. I think I just love to just inspire people to recognize that healing is truly starts from within and it's not from without. And truly imagine yourself living your fullest, best life without any hindrances, and truly believe that it is possible for you. And just want it for yourself more than you want to listen to the doctor. You want to listen to yourself. and you want to take the steps necessary to do that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It has been a wonder and an absolute honor to talk to you today, Christine, really. And for anyone who is listening or watching, do yourself a favor and click on the links below, even if it is just to check out Christine's Instagram page. Follow all her amazing food. Oh my God, it is incredible. And her website and everything else. But if you are having any issues with your body, if you are experiencing MS or anything else like that, reach out to Christine, because like I said, Christine, you are a living example of what can happen, a radiating, vibrant example of what can happen when we tune into our nervous system, when we connect with our bodies instead of rejecting it. So I said, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you. It was a real pleasure, and I feel really seen by you, and I feel really blessed and honored to be on your podcast. And I love your mission with Sacred You. And thank you for inspiring so many people.
Thank you. And ditto to you, that you are an inspiration as well. Thank you.